After pretending to have amnesia, I quietly watched my nemesis act as my partner. After a quarrel with my nemesis, I was knocked unconscious by a falling object. When I woke up, I planned to play the fool and deceive him out of his money. "Who are you?" In shock, he blurted out, "I'm your boyfriend, we've been together for 8 years. Me, huh? How about a kiss to get familiar with the taste? Man, good dog. I'm after his money, and he's after my lips. Ethan and I have known each other since we were little. We became archenemies at 17. To be honest, we were childhood sweethearts, a perfect match in every way, but somehow we just couldn't get along. Early this morning, he snatched a deal I had with the Shen family. I stood in front of his desk and scolded him, "Is it that delicious to eat meat from my mouth? Ethan, I can't stand you." Ethan crossed his long legs and mumbled something, but I couldn't hear it clearly. On this side, the phone rang, and I answered on speaker, listening as the other side said Ryan had already landed. If I want to secure this deal, getting through to Ryan might still offer a chance. Besides, Ryan and I have the bond of high school classmates. Ethan stood up anxiously. "You can't go find him, I have something to say to you, Miss Yo-Yo." I was so angry that I didn't want to pay any attention to him. "I'm going. Who do you think you are to control me?" I stormed out of the building, just as the typhoon was about to make landfall, and the wind was howling outside. As I looked up, I was hit on the head by a water-cultivated pot hose that had been blown down from the second floor. Before I lost consciousness, I saw Ethan rushing over, both angry and anxious. He wouldn't be coming over to check if I was dead and to steal my business, would he? How ruthless. As my consciousness began to return slightly, a faint smell of disinfectant filled my nostrils, and then I heard the doctor making a report on my condition. "Miss Yo-Yo is fine, but she may have a mild concussion. In the short term, she might experience vomiting and dizziness, so she needs to be careful when she goes back." "Then why hasn't she woken up yet?" "There won't be any after effects, will there?" Ethan asked anxiously. The doctor explained, Miss Yo-Yo is just asleep. Pretending to be faint. I fainted for a second, and then it was me who fell asleep. My brain was racing. Why not take advantage of this fainting spell to swindle some money from Ethan? It would just about make up for the losses from my business being stolen. So, I planned to pretend to have amnesia and stay at Ethan's house. We don't get along, but our parents have a great relationship, so the 4 of them went on a trip together. I was tired of the company's food. The meals made by Ethan's housekeeper were incredibly delicious. As I thought this, I couldn't help but blink my eyes. Then, I heard the nurse exclaim, "Ethan, Miss Yo-Yo is awake." Damn, I'm not ready yet. Acting. I opened my eyes, trying hard to create a dazed and innocent expression. Ethan rushed to my hospital bed, raised his hand and waved it in front of my eyes. "Yo-Yo, how many is this?" His hand was shaking to the point of being a blur. I couldn't make out a thing. So I pretended to support my head and said pretentiously, "I don't know, but, who are you?" Ethan was stunned, turning back to stare at the doctor. "Didn't you say it was nothing?" How could he have lost his memory? The doctor visibly panicked, twisting the pen in his hand. He kept saying, "It shouldn't be like this, it shouldn't be like this." After a while, he said, "The patient has experienced a brief episode of amnesia, but there's no need to worry, it will surely get better soon." I smiled at the doctor, then looked at Ethan, and to confirm my amnesia, I asked again in a dazed manner, "Who are you?" At that moment, my acting was like that of a movie queen, to the point that Ethan was completely convinced. He hesitated for a moment and said, "I am your boyfriend, we've been together for 8 years, and we're about to get married." Is Ethan seeing through my act of amnesia and playing with me? But in the next moment, Ethan's large hand patted my head. "Miss Yo-Yo, it's okay, I'll take you home." Either I'm going crazy, or Ethan is going crazy. I looked at him in surprise and found his eyes red, as if he had been crying. Damn, the typhoon outside is too strong. Ethan is already crying in the wind. Maybe it's my expression, too shocked. Ethan cleared his throat and said, "What? Don't believe it? How about we kiss, get familiar with the taste?" I hadn't reacted yet when I saw Ethan's ears turn red as he turned his head. He said to himself, just kidding, there are still people here." I blinked my eyes, not realizing it was a joke at all. He had been staring at my lips the whole time, looking like he really wanted to kiss me. No, I was just simply after his money. How did he get the impression that I was after his lips? I wasn't seriously hurt and quickly completed the discharge procedures. As I walked through the hospital corridor, I glanced at my reflection in the glass. There was a piece of pothose leaf stuck in my hair, looking disheveled. Ethan definitely didn't want to kiss me just now. He wanted to get close and laugh at me. "Miss Yo-Yo, take the medicine and go home." Ethan ran towards me, holding the medicine, wrapped in his trench coat, his face warm and cheerful, momentarily making me feel a bit dazed. The one I had a crush on before was just like him. When exactly did we start becoming sworn enemies? I think carefully. That year in the second year of high school, Ethan was 17, and I was 16. It was also the year Ryan just transferred here. Ethan was born with a face that attracted attention, with a high nose and thin lips, and he excelled in his studies, ranking first in every subject, making him the center of attention at school. Of course, I am being held up by him, this moon. I have advanced a grade, used connections, and am in the same grade and class as Ethan. He carries the backpack, does the cleaning, and even during the 800-meter test in PE class, he can run 1,000 meters and still keep running alongside me. "Miss Yo-Yo, if you're tired from running, I'll carry you home." "Little Yo-Yo, keep it up." He always smiles and cheers me on, never getting angry with me. I was just starting to experience the stirrings of love as a young girl. It's only natural to fall for him, right? Besides, I'm not the only one in love with him, so many people in the school like him. We had a great relationship until that midterm exam. Before the midterm, Ryan transferred in, and the two of them were evenly matched in both looks and grades. I heard that on the day Ryan transferred, the principal offered a few thick incense sticks. This top scholar from Shanghai has secured these too. 2 days before the exam, Ethan fell ill for some unknown reason. Pneumonia, coughing, he had lost weight and lay weakly on the desk. I felt so heartbroken that I didn't dare to disturb him during breaks. I could only stare blankly at the difficult problem in front of me. As Ryan passed by and saw this, he reached out and made a couple of suggestions. I quickly solved it and gave Ryan a thumbs up. Indeed, he was someone who could compete with me, Ethan. I am the youngest in the class, still chubby with baby fat, fair-skinned, wearing the little sheep outfit that Ethan brought me to keep warm. I don't know if it's a bit like a pet, but Ryan ruffled my hair. "Oh, little Yo-Yo." I was momentarily caught off guard and didn't dodge. But the next second, for some reason, I felt a chill all over my body. I turned around and saw Ethan hunched over the table, squinting this way, his face full of gloom, as if someone had robbed him. In the afternoon, the sky gradually darkened. A sudden rainstorm arrived. The black clouds rolled in like ink, and the white rain fell like pearls. When school was over, Ethan rushed into the rain without waiting for me. Our parents are unwilling to reveal our family background, fearing it might attract danger, so we have always walked home. He didn't wait for me, and I stood there in a daze until a large umbrella covered me from above. When I looked up, it was Ryan. "No umbrella? Come on, I'll take you home." I watched Ethan disappear into the rain, feeling a bit uneasy. I didn't know where I went wrong to upset Ethan. It had been a long time since I got home, and from the attic on the 3rd floor, I secretly saw Ethan's study, discovering that he still hadn't returned. Didn't he leave early? Why hasn't he gotten home yet? I wanted to go downstairs to ask, but suddenly Ethan's figure appeared in my line of sight. He was completely soaked by the heavy rain, looking no better than someone pulled out of the water. A bit dejected and pitiful. In the past, he would glance at me from the study, but now he has drawn the curtains, forbidding me to see him. The next day, Ethan still waited for me, but he didn't say a word the whole way. I tried to talk to him. Ethan, yesterday. Ryan brought you back. Ethan said. It was a statement. As he spoke, he took my backpack and placed it on his shoulder. Ethan is a bit quirky, but he started talking to me again, which made me quite happy. Just as I was feeling happy, I looked up and saw Ryan standing at the school gate, smiling over here. Ethan looked at him, then turned back to look at me. Is he really that happy to see him? Our relationship started to deteriorate from that day. For example, I heard the school beauty Jessica say that she didn't bring an umbrella yesterday, and it was Ethan who gave her one. It turns out the reason Ethan didn't wait for me was that he went to deliver an umbrella to Jessica. For example, I saw that Jessica had an amulet for a smooth exam on her hand, which she said she got from Yangshan Temple. And Ethan, just 2 days before his pneumonia, inexplicably went to Yangshan Temple. For example, later I don't know who spread the rumor that Ryan and I were dating. I heard Ethan casually say, "Who is she to me? Why should I ask her?" For example, on the day Ryan went abroad, I was feeling down because my relationship with Ethan had worsened. He said, "Are you still sad about Ryan going abroad? Then I snatched that order from your family." Later, the two of us gradually became irreconcilable, insisting that the other give in before we would be satisfied. In my recollections, I was taken home by Ethan. Even though he was just a neighbor, he brought me back to his house. I pretended to hold his hand. "Boyfriend, is this your home? It's really beautiful." I felt Ethan's body stiffen behind me, and then the sunlight made his ears turn bright red. He turned around to look at me and said very seriously, "My name is Ethan." "You've been calling me Ethan all along. Can you call me that just once now?" When did I ever call him Ethan? I've always referred to him as the stubborn old mule. However, since he wants to play, I'll give him a big game. Did I ever call you Ethan? I don't think it sounds good now. I'll call you hubby instead, okay, hubby reverse tilde? I can't compete with him in business, but I can make him sick. Ethan stood frozen in place, his mouth twitching. Ha ha ha, scared you, didn't I? Little did I know, his lips curved into a shallow arc as he bent down and slowly embraced me. "Miss Yo-Yo, my wife." His voice is pleasant, and I actually forgot to resist, allowing him to take my hand and lead me indoors. The entire villa is empty, and Luma has taken leave these days. I can't eat the meal she makes anymore. What a mistake. Ethan is cooking noodles in the kitchen. "Honey, I'm going to give you some." "Honey, do you want to add an egg?" Why does he call his wife so smoothly? Is he trying to humiliate me? "Yo-Yo, darling, there's some chocolate on the top shelf of the fridge." I opened the fridge, and there were a lot of hazelnut chocolates stacked up, my favorite flavor. When I was young, I loved eating candy, but my parents wouldn't allow it, so I could only ask Ethan. Ethan could always conjure it up. No wonder Ethan always had chocolate to share with me when we were kids. It turns out he liked it too. I chewed on chocolate while watching Ethan cook in the kitchen. He looked even better than in high school, broad-shouldered and slim-waisted, even wearing an apron, he looked like a male model. The chocolate in my mouth is a bit bitter, inevitably reminding me of how he used to bring me chocolate when we were kids. The steaming noodles were served, and Ethan made a heart-shaped egg. In my bowl were the leftover scraps. If only I could really lose my memory. Then I wouldn't have to worry about him drugging me. The portion of noodles is very large, I can't finish it. Ethan picked up my leftover noodles and ate them. Confirmed, no drugs were added. In the evening, while getting ready to wash up, I fell into an awkward situation. The one who felt awkward wasn't me, but Ethan. Ethan stood at the bedroom door, at a loss. No, this is his bedroom, why is he so nervous? Besides, we've known each other since we were in diapers. You sleep here tonight, and I'll sleep next door. If you need anything, just call me, Ethan said. I squinted, he wants to discuss business behind my back. After dinner, he called his subordinate at the company, saying to have a video call with Ryan today and sign the contract. I heard it. I reached out and tugged at the corner of his shirt. Ethan, we've been in a relationship for 8 years, and we still haven't slept in the same bed. It can't be that. My gaze gradually shifted downwards, and I said softly, could it be that you can't do it? Ethan's lips twitched, his face full of restraint. He seemed unhappy, but I was enjoying myself. I directly circled around to his back, closed the door, and even locked it. No one is signing the contract today. I looked at Ethan with an innocent expression. Ethan, will you sleep with me today? He wants to pretend to be my boyfriend to keep an eye on me and not let me go out to sign the contract. I'll turn the tables and tie him down in the name of being his girlfriend. I don't have pajamas, so after taking a shower, I put on Ethan's oversized shirt and came out of the bathroom with my hair still wet. I'm just afraid this guy will sneak out to sign the contract while I'm taking a shower. Ethan didn't go out, he was pacing in the bedroom. Staying indoors, yet walking thousands of steps a day. Look at him, so anxious that his ears and neck turned red. Ha ha ha, can't sign the contract and he's getting anxious, right? He glanced at me, and I couldn't tell if it was guilt, but his face turned even redder. He stammered as he spoke, I'm going to take a shower. Wash it clean. After hearing this, Ethan dashed into the bathroom. I sat on his bed, feeling bored, and when I looked up, I saw a red lucky bag hanging in the open wardrobe. This lucky bag seemed to be the one that Jessica had brought back from the temple at Yangshan. After graduating from high school, Ethan and I went to the same university, and it seems like he lost contact with Jessica. He was fully focused on opposing me, perhaps too busy for romance. I said that number 5 on the school basketball team is quite handsome, and he said my taste was poor. The next day, he gathered a team and completely crushed the school team. When number 5 was about to cry from the beating, he stood next to me, being sarcastic. Do you like it this way? Crybaby? I said the main players on the tennis team have good muscle definition, and he said I haven't seen the world. The next day, wearing a tank top, he swayed in front of me. From time to time, he would lift his shirt to wipe the sweat, but it was winter. I envy others who receive flowers on Valentine's Day. That day, I received a large bouquet of chrysanthemums from Ethan. While others had roses, I had a funeral. Just as I was thinking, Ethan came out, fidgeting. You sleep first, I'll work for a while, he said. I widened my eyes, no way. She wants to take advantage of me while I'm asleep and work hard to earn money? I rushed straight to Ethan and opened my arms to hug him. No, you can't leave. Without waiting for him to say anything, I looked up with a pitiful expression and said, Husband, stay and keep me company, okay? Ethan said nothing and turned back into the bathroom. Didn't he just take a shower? I couldn't care less about him. I quietly formatted his already opened computer and locked the bedroom door, finally resetting the password to my birthday. I must be the first one to rush out and meet Ryan tomorrow morning. After finishing everything, Ethan had finished his shower. He walked over with a hairdryer. Come here, Miss Yo-Yo, I'll help you dry your hair. I smiled as I sat in front of him. Since we were both pretending to have amnesia, I might as well put Ethan to use. Ethan, the wind isn't strong enough. Ethan, it doesn't blow here. Ethan, it's still a little damp here, Ethan. I put on a dramatic performance, but Ethan didn't get angry at all. He managed to coax me into submission. I was dozing off in his arms. Wow. I just took some medicine and forgot. The doctor prescribed me medication that has a calming effect. I collapsed into Ethan's arms. The figure behind me paused slightly. Then I was placed onto the bed. Feeling the person behind me getting ready to leave, I grabbed his arm. Ethan, don't go. I won't leave, you sleep. His body is super warm, and there's a hint of chill in the early autumn air. I unconsciously lean on him. In his dreams, he heard Ethan sigh. If only this were true. What would be true? He can't be wishing that I really have amnesia, can he? The next morning, as soon as I woke up, I found that Ethan was gone. the bedroom door was open. I quickly changed my clothes and rushed out. It's over, he must have gone out to sign a contract with Ryan behind my back. I ran down the stairs at the speed of flight, and the moment I grabbed my bag, I saw Ethan's figure in the kitchen. Awake? He heard the noise, turned around, and smiled. He looked at the bag in my hand, paused for a moment, and said, "Remembered?" I was caught red-handed, so how could I continue to pretend I had amnesia? I can only sit on his sofa with my back straight and my legs crossed. Hey, pay up, I lost my memory for a day, and you pretended to be my boyfriend and played with me, pay up, 50 million. Ethan's face showed a hint of inexplicable disappointment. What's wrong, do you think I'm asking for too much money? Suddenly he looked at me, Miss Yo-Yo, do you want 24.6 billion? Ethan is really good at sarcasm. Instead of directly saying that he thinks I'm asking for too much money, he says this. What does that mean? 246 billion, the Hua family has calculated it for me, just right at a market value of 246 billion. I waved my hand, I'm not that greedy, I just want 50 million. Ethan sighed, did not refute me, but placed the plate on the dining table. Eat. After he finished speaking, he went upstairs. Dressed in thin pajamas, he looked pitiful. Sigh, I suddenly thought of a question. The password to Ethan's bedroom door has been changed by me, so how did he get out? As I was munching on the fried egg, I suddenly realized when I saw Luma come in using fingerprint recognition. Ah, fingerprint recognition is also an option. Aunt Lou was extremely happy to see me, Miss Yo-Yo, the young master asked me to buy. Good morning, Luma, goodbye, Luma. I grabbed my bag and slipped away. When I reached the entrance of the Hua family, I quickly called Old Wang next door. Next door is my house, Old Wang is the driver. Uncle Wang, come pick me up at the Hua family's gate. Uncle Wang, I was waiting for Uncle Wang at the door, feeling as if someone was watching me from behind. When I turned around, I saw nothing, just the wind stirring the curtains. But I am nearsighted, so I couldn't see anything clearly. Uncle Wang got in touch with me and contacted the project leader, and soon we arrived at the hotel where Ryan was staying. Ryan didn't have any unusual reaction when he saw me, he just glanced behind me. You came alone, where's Ethan? You two didn't come together? I frowned, you're not trying to take advantage of our competition, waiting for both our families to gather so you can raise the price, are you? Ryan shrugged in confusion, aren't you two from the same family? Besides, when has the Hua family ever competed with ours? Huh? Never competed? I heard him say yesterday that he wanted to sign a contract with you. Facing my question, Ryan sipped his coffee and said slowly, it's true that Ethan and I have been negotiating, but he was talking about collaborating with you. He said your family has been involved in this industry for many years, has experience, and has connections. He helped me negotiate? Sign a contract with our family? Ryan didn't think much of it. Well, isn't it fine to lend a hand for someone you like? I was stunned by what Ryan said. I almost thought my ears were broken. He said Ethan likes me? Likes me, sending me chrysanthemums on Valentine's Day? Ryan took a sip of coffee and looked at me, a half-smile playing on his lips as he teased. No way? It's been a few years, and Ethan still hasn't confessed? He liked you back in high school. During that midterm exam, he came over to assert his claim while we were in the same exam room. I was completely stunned. Did they have some things happen that I didn't know about? On the day of the midterm exam, Ethan arrived first and directly sat in Ryan's seat. Ryan arrived, showing no signs of yielding, instead lifting his eyelids to glare at the newcomer. There's a rumor outside that you're dating Yo-Yo? Give me an explanation. Ryan was equally unyielding, why should I explain anything to you? Who are you to Miss Yo-Yo? Ethan sprang up, standing. I am not anyone to Miss Yo-Yo, I am Miss Yo-Yo's, and likewise, she is mine. Ryan lowered his head and smiled faintly. This person looked smart, but was actually rebellious and not easy to deal with. So he asked, do you like Miss Yo-Yo? Ethan's eyes widened, and he stammered, "What are you talking about?" "The truth." Upon hearing this, Ryan was truly at a loss whether to laugh or cry. This person was both rebellious and inexplicably adorable. "Ethan, let me be clear with you, I don't like Miss Yo-Yo." Ethan's gaze softened significantly as he looked at him, and Ryan watched his expression change as quickly as flipping a book, then teased him, "Hey, why don't you ask Miss Yo-Yo if she likes me?" Ethan stood up, looking embarrassed. "Who is she to me? Why should I ask her?" After Ryan finished speaking, I still found it hard to believe. "Ryan, have you ever had amnesia? Or is there some memory modification program abroad?" Ryan choked a few times on his coffee unexpectedly. "No, you two really don't have the guts, do you? Just go ask, Ethan, do you like me or not?" After I left Ryan, I had my subordinates connect with the Shen family and went to find Ethan myself. The first option is to ask directly. "Ethan, do you like me?" There are two possible outcomes. First, he says no, and then laughs at my narcissism. Second, he says yes, and then laughs at how long it took me to realize, calling me slow-witted. In both cases, I cannot escape the consequence of being mocked by him, and besides, I don't have that much courage. I'm afraid the answer I might get is, "I don't like you." I only trust Ryan 80%, after all, Jessica is a thorn in my heart. Lost in thought, I walked to the bottom of the building. The typhoon is about to make landfall, and outside the wind and rain are raging. My windbreaker is soaked, and my high heels are covered with leaves blown down by the wind. I'm really dazed. I should be at home eating sunflower seeds and watching TV. Now, for some unfounded issue, I'm here questioning Ethan? Just because I liked him before doesn't mean I still do. I turned to leave, but my wrist was pulled back, and a trench coat was draped over my head. I looked up and saw Ethan with red eyes. His eyes were puffy, and the tip of his nose was also red. He spoke with a bit of a choke in his voice. "Are you here to show off that you've struck a deal with Ryan, or to brag that you're going to be in a relationship?" I didn't answer him, but instead asked, "Why are your eyes red? Have you been crying?" Ethan wiped his face as if trying to hide something. "I'm not crying, I'm just shedding tears in the wind. The typhoon is so strong, is it wrong for me to have a few more tears?" He pressed his lips together, and his eyes turned a bit redder. "If you really end up with Ryan, don't come telling me. That weakling is even worse than I am. I've watched you grow up since you were little. You've always liked that pink diamond at home, so I'll give it to you as your dowry." Ethan's voice grew weaker and sounded a bit pitiful. That pink diamond, he bid $520 million for it, and I was practically drooling when I saw it. "Ethan, why are you, a big man, taking pictures of it? Do you like pink?" He glanced at me lightly and said, "Like?" I nodded. "Can't you see my eyes? I'm dying of craving." He smiled and said, "I took this for my wife." "Where did you get a wife? How do you know your wife likes it?" He quietly looked at me without saying a word, and just when I had forgotten my question, he suddenly said, "She likes." Now he says that pink diamond is a gift for me? I suddenly feel that what Ryan said is a bit credible. When Ethan pulled me into the building, I asked him, "Do you still remember Jessica?" Ethan squinted his eyes. "Who is Jessica? Have you watched any new TV shows lately?" "Me, the school beauty from our high school, Jessica." He thought for a long time and asked me, "Who? Do we still have a school beauty?" I stared at him in disbelief. "Jessica, you gave her an umbrella, you went to Yangshan Temple to get a lucky bag for her." Ethan looked confused. "What umbrella? Why would I give her an umbrella?" "I went to Yangshan Temple to ask for a blessing bag for." He didn't continue, just sighed. "Forget it, there's no point in saying these things, it's all in the past. Now that Ryan is back in the country, if you want to develop things slowly with him, just wait for Uncle Sue and the others to come back and go directly to his place." "Stop, stop, stop." I interrupted Ethan, staring at him in confusion and frustration. It seemed like he misunderstood something. "What are Ryan and I developing?" A pure revolutionary friendship from our high school days? Don't you like him? When he went abroad, you were sad. The number 5 player you liked in college looked a bit like Ryan, and the tennis player you liked later wore the number 17, which was also used by Ryan in high school. I stared at Ethan in astonishment. How could he be so imaginative? Why didn't he just say that I like player number 5, because he, like Ryan, is also a guy? I pointed to the security guard at the door. If I said I liked him, what do you think he has in common with Ryan? Ethan seemed unable to tell that I was joking and instead started to think seriously about it. After a while, his answer to me was that the color of the security uniform is somewhat similar to Ryan's clothes. Me. I looked at Ethan as if he were a fool. Why don't you say I like the two of them because they can breathe? Ethan muttered softly, I can breathe too. I said seriously, Yo-Yo. Never liked Ryan. You must have been kicked in the head by a donkey to think that. Ethan stood frozen in place, his face a mix of surprise and joy, yet he still held it in with all his might. To be honest, I have imagined him having a similar expression when he is constipated. A strong wind rose outside the door as I pulled Ethan into the elevator, all the way up to the 22nd floor, his private lounge. It seems that I've spent more time at the Huas than at my own company. The strong wind suddenly cleared my mind, like smoke dispersing. Although I don't have complete confidence, I know that Ethan likes this about me. I already have a sense of it in my heart. His eyes were red, definitely from crying, and he had been jealous of Ryan the whole time. Jealous, he cried. No, how could he endure this? Ninja Turtles? I pushed him onto the chair, my hands pressing down on the armrests, trapping him between me and the back of the chair. He looked at me with red eyes, a bit pitiful, which made me feel a little excited. I really want to torment him. Ethan, let me introduce you to someone. I don't want to. The response was quite straightforward and crisp. What do you like? Innocent? Sexy? Men? Women? I completely ignored him and continued to ask. He wanted to get up and refused to answer my question, but he didn't dare to move, because I was blocking his way. Ethan's ears were burning, but he didn't dare to look at me directly, only turning his face to the side. I reached out my right hand and directly grabbed his chin. When I was young, I was very delicate, but after I grew up and had an unpleasant experience with him, I became spoiled, and it was he who spoiled me. I stared into his eyes. Ethan, let me introduce you to a girl who is about my height, looks somewhat similar, and has a similar personality. A glimmer of hope flashed in Ethan's eyes, the kind of surprise I wanted to see. So I quickly said, it's my cousin, Bella, the one you know, who looks a lot like me, has a similar personality, and is pretty much the same in every way. Ethan opened his mouth, but ultimately stubbornly turned his head, his chin slipping away from my hand, and he stood up from the side where I had released my grip. His eyes seemed even redder as he stood in front of me, pouting and staring at me. Miss Yo-Yo, how exactly have I offended you? Whether I fall in love or get married, what does it have to do with you? His voice was a bit loud, but not aggressive, revealing a suppressed grievance. The office fell into silence for a moment, and all that could be heard was Ethan's heavy breathing. The office door was suddenly pushed open, and the secretary walked in with some documents. Ethan was tall, and I was in front of him, completely blocking my presence from the secretary's view. The secretary looked down at the documents, not noticing the unusual atmosphere in the room, and said directly, Ethan, the materials are ready. I will send them to the Shen Corporation right away. Miss Yo-Yo's business deal will be finalized, but do you want to tell her about all this? Secretary Liu is the old secretary, and Ethan only entrusts him with extremely important matters. Ethan's hands hung down tightly clenched, and I leaned out from in front of him to look at the secretary. Secretary Liu, I already know. Secretary Liu was taken aback and chuckled twice. Miss Yo-Yo, knowing is not enough. Ethan turned to Secretary Liu. Uncle Liu, you go out first, we'll talk about work later. Secretary Liu smiled as he left, but before closing the door, he winked at me, then pointed at Ethan, then at me, and made a heart gesture. Immediately, the heart broke, and Secretary Lou made a crying expression. What he means is that Ethan likes me, and then thought I was going to be good with Ryan, and cried in the office? Secretary Lou closed the door and couldn't help but chuckle. From his angle, he couldn't see Miss Yo-Yo's figure, but he could see her shoes. He said it on purpose. When will the boss get married and give us a holiday? He also has an old secretary who still does work for the Sue family. Although the boss pays well, he really wants a twilight romance. Secretary Lou left, and I stared at Ethan, his ears flushed red, awkwardly fiddling with a pen, mumbling an explanation. I'm not helping you, I'm just watching you be foolish, afraid you'll squander Uncle Sue's fortune. I looked at him expressionlessly, pretending, and then pretending some more. He kept rambling on about nonsense. Until I stood right in front of him, less than a fist's distance away, he suddenly fell silent. He slowly backed away, and I pressed forward step by step. His body was against the bookshelf, with nowhere left to retreat, while I continued to advance. Ethan. I called him. He lowered his head and could see how close we were. Why did you pretend I was your boyfriend yesterday? Ethan's Adam's apple bobbed as he stared at me blankly, and after a moment he replied, Uncle Sue and the others are not home, I'm afraid bad people will take you away. I nodded slightly, still stubborn, not admitting to liking me. Oh, then what do you mean by saying a kiss, to get familiar with the taste? Ethan's gaze suddenly focused on my lips, and he opened his mouth a few times, but couldn't find the words. I stood on tiptoe, pinching his chin. Are you craving me? In that moment, I felt Ethan's body stiffen, or perhaps it was hard. What do you mean by eat me out, and what do you mean by Miss Yo-Yo is my wife? Ethan, what are you hiding from me? His hands hung tightly at his sides, and a pair of beautiful eyes looked at me, as if there were 1,000 words to say, yet he was tongue-tied. Lower your head. I commanded him. Ethan lowered his head, our gazes met, and the air became thick. Yo-Yo. Ethan softly called my name. Huh? What do you want? Do you want to give me an explanation? The deep affection in his eyes is somewhat burning, but his eyes are beautiful, even when looking at a dog, they carry a look of deep emotion. I can't help but want to provoke him now. Ethan, I want to be in a relationship, I think Ryan, I didn't speak, my words were blocked in my throat by his kiss. His tongue probed in, and I had no strength to fight back at all. As I lay limp in his arms, his deep, suppressed voice reached my ears. This is how I feel about you, Miss Yo-Yo. I like you, I've liked you since we were little, but I was afraid you wouldn't like me back, afraid that after I confessed my feelings, we wouldn't even be able to be friends, afraid that you liked someone else and not me. Miss Yo-Yo, I like you. Miss Yo-Yo, don't mention other people's names, if you want to fall in love, be with me. I pressed my lips together and said to him, look down, I'll give you an answer. I stood on my tiptoes and said, I don't think Ryan is right for me, how about Ethan, let's date. At the moment our lips were about to touch, the voices of my parents and his parents came from outside Ethan's office. The wind is too strong, if we hadn't bought the tickets early, we definitely wouldn't be able to come back. Hearing them come back, I felt like I had been caught in an affair. Instinctively, I let go of Ethan and pushed him away. But he leaned against the cabinet, and in a moment of distraction, his head suddenly hit the back of the cabinet. A flower pot was placed on the cabinet, and it fell down, hitting him on the head. He was dizzy when his parents came in. Just 5 minutes after confirming their relationship, Ethan fainted. When we arrived at the hospital, the doctor was puzzled to see me awake while Ethan was unconscious. But this time it was different. Ethan's flower pot was made of Jingdezhen porcelain, and he was truly knocked out. The doctor said it was nothing, just a possible mild concussion, and the injury on his forehead would be fine with some ointment. He had just woken up when he was taken back home. The typhoon is too strong, and the whole city is almost shut down. Parents feel that it's better to stay together for support, so we all stayed at Ethan's house. My parents were at home with nothing to do, so they inevitably brought up the old topic of marriage. As soon as they opened their mouths, I made my stance clear: stop urging me, I have a boyfriend. Everyone was in shock, even Ethan turned to look at me, his face filled with astonishment. Our parents have a good relationship, and we grew up together. It's perfectly normal for us to be open about our relationship, right? Why is he so shocked? Does he not want to go public? Also, ever since he woke up, he has been staring at my lips, which are a bit rosy, and they aren't even kissed by him. What the hell is he looking at? I looked at Ethan. Isn't that right, Ethan, my boyfriend, you know? Everyone's gaze was fixed on him standing at the door. He looked at me with a face full of shock, hurt, disappointment, and despair, and before I could react, he grabbed my wrist and took me upstairs. Dad, Mom, Uncle, Aunt, I want to say a few words with Yo-Yo. No, do we still need to discuss this publicly? I was taken to his study, and as soon as I entered, he trapped me against the door, his eyes glaring at me with a crimson intensity. His rough fingertips brushed against my lips. I don't understand, Ethan, he suddenly asked, is this also his kiss? Your boyfriend's kiss? Me, huh? Isn't this his? Isn't he my boyfriend? I nodded. Your boyfriend, do I know him? Who is he? Me, huh? Ethan lost his memory? Isn't he my boyfriend? Ethan stood in front of me, and I waved my hand in front of him. Ethan, what date is it today? He replied, the 17th, the time when our parents went on a trip. And in fact, today is the 24th. Ethan, do you know Ryan is back? Ethan, pupil earthquake, he's back? Your boyfriend is him? I am now certain, absolutely and definitely, that Ethan suffered a concussion and lost a week's worth of memory. The parents were really gossiping, thinking that Ethan was here to find out who my boyfriend was, all standing awkwardly at the door, which wasn't even locked, 4 of them standing there in an awkward silence. Yo-Yo, what's your boyfriend like? My mom spoke up first. I glanced at Ethan and smiled as I replied, really good, he's 1.85 meters tall. Ethan's expression darkened. Just because he's tall doesn't mean he's handsome. When will you bring him home to meet us? My dad suggested. Ethan's face darkened like a pot bottom. We've only been dating for a short time, the relationship isn't stable yet, it's better not to make it public. They bombarded me with a bunch of questions, and I answered them one by one. I said one Ethan against one. He emphasized that a relationship should not be made public if it hasn't lasted for at least 6 months. Absolutely cannot let boys take advantage. On dates, my dad must accompany me the whole time. Also, there must be a physical fitness test, 1,500-meter run, 5-kilometer training. My dad is a typical daughter slave, and he hit it off with Ethan right away, deciding on the spot that he must be the third wheel to protect me the whole time. I gave Ethan a thumbs up, this idea. Great. Ethan's head still hurt a bit, so he applied some medicine and went to sleep. Before sleeping, he repeatedly warned me, men are all liars, don't let anyone deceive you. The next day, the typhoon had passed, and the weather was sunny and pleasant. As soon as I got up, I saw Ethan standing in front of my door, fidgeting. What are you doing? Ethan hung his head, looking like a little wife. Yo-Yo, when I woke up today, it seems I remembered that, your boyfriend is me. I bought you the soup dumplings you like, let's eat together. I stared at him, feeling a bit unaccustomed to his attentiveness. In the past, he would always knock on the door with a bun in hand, leaning against the wall lazily saying, I've eaten enough, I'll give you the leftovers. I ate a few at the dining table, felt a bit greasy, so I just left them there, and Ethan picked up my chopsticks and continued eating. I don't think much of his actions. Even when he looks at me with a grin, I feel a bit uncomfortable. In the past, he would always eat his buns and still not forget to scold me, eating cat food, what a waste. While I was eating, my dad came down from upstairs and asked me what I was doing today. I glanced at Ethan, a date. In that moment, I saw Ethan's eyes light up, and I felt that if he had a tail, he would definitely be wagging it at me. Quite adorable. My dad, got it, I'll go with you. Ethan suddenly looked up and asked, "Uncle, a date, what are you going for?" My dad said in confusion, "Didn't you say yesterday that I should accompany Yo-Yo on her date, so the boys can't take advantage?" In that moment, I seemed to see Ethan's ears droop down again. Oh, the frustrated little puppy. After a while, my dad, Ethan, and I got into a car. My dad looked at Ethan and said, "Why are you following us?" "Yo-Yo is on a date with her boyfriend, and I can go with her. You should go to work." In the end, Ethan was kicked out of the car, and I looked at him from outside, feeling sorry for him. I held back my laughter and sent him a text. "You said yesterday that a relationship shouldn't be made public until at least 6 months have passed." From the rearview mirror of the car, I saw Ethan about to crack up. Ethan wasn't there, and I was sure no one was dating, so I made up a reason to send my dad to work and went to find Ethan. Before I even entered the office, I heard Ethan sighing inside. I pushed open the door and called out to him at the entrance. "Ethan?" He ran towards me with a smile, just like a puppy. He pulled me into the office, buried his head in my neck, and said pitifully, "Give me a title." I waved my hand. "You said it yourself, the relationship is unstable, we can't go public." Ethan and I secretly talked for half a year. On New Year's Eve, our two families had a reunion dinner together. Ethan's parents urged him in various ways after they found out I was dating, but Ethan couldn't bring himself to say anything, leaving him to suffer in silence, unable to express his pain. He secretly held my hand under the dining table. "Ethan's dad, don't ask your sister for help, she has a boyfriend." "What about you? When are you going to bring a daughter-in-law home?" Ethan looked at me, "Yo-Yo." I smiled at him, "Yeah, brother Ethan, when can you bring your wife back?" After dinner, we took a walk together. My dad has been brooding over the son-in-law he has never met. My dad said, "Little one, when I see you, I will definitely practice well." "Alright, you've hidden it deep enough." Ethan blinked and said, "Uncle, isn't that unnecessary?" Ethan's dad replied, "How is it unnecessary?" "Practice well, is our Yo-Yo that easy to trick?" Ethan had a constipated expression, "It's hard to speak." I spoke beside him. "Dad, Uncle, my boyfriend is really great, tall and handsome, considerate, makes money, cultured, and cares for me, he is the best boyfriend in the world." Ethan, listening to what I said, couldn't help but smile. He was laughing when Ethan's dad suddenly looked at him, "What are you laughing at?" "It's not you, you single dog." "Ethan." After the walk, Ethan and I set off fireworks in the yard while our parents went back to their rooms to watch the Spring Festival Gala. The atmosphere was particularly good, surrounded by fireworks, we held hands and then began to kiss. No one noticed that Ethan's dad saw us kissing at the door, his eyes wide with shock. Then Ethan's dad called for Ethan's mom. Ethan's mom called for my mom. My mom called for my dad. When we finished kissing, my dad and mom pulled me away. "Yo-Yo, cheating is wrong." Ethan's dad and mom pulled him away. "Ethan, it's shameful to know and do nothing." Later, after Ethan explained, they finally believed that Ethan was the original partner. My dad took out a stopwatch, "Come on, run 1,500 meters." Ethan's dad laughed and said to my dad, "There's no need for that, right?" My dad stared at Ethan's dad. We took Yo-Yo home. Ethan's dad immediately became very serious, "Go run. Run 3,000 meters. Later, after we got married, Ethan gave me a lucky bag. "Miss Yo-Yo, this was supposed to be given to you in high school. I prayed for it at Yangshan Temple and have kept it hidden until today, so I can give it to you now." At that time, you couldn't even run 800 meters, I was very scared, I specifically asked for it, but didn't send it out. I asked him, "Ethan, it was raining that day, you didn't wait for me, you even gave an umbrella to Jessica, why?" Clearly, Ethan also remembers that day vividly. "You didn't talk to me at all that day, and Ryan even patted your head." I was furious. "It started to rain, and I didn't have an umbrella, so I went to buy one for you. By the time I came back, you had already left with Ryan, and I just handed the umbrella to someone. I don't remember who it was. Me, then you can take an umbrella home, why do it for others? Ethan hugged me, looking wronged. I cried, if I took an umbrella, others would see it. Ethan is a bit arrogant. But he is also very considerate. After the marriage, Secretary Lou officially started working for our family, and I feel like he has added a vibrant stroke to his upcoming retirement life. But I want to teach my son that if you like something, you have to say it out loud, otherwise, she won't know.